into actual homeopathic remedies and what they can help with. So, and what issues that we may come across. So one of the first ones I'd like to talk about is aconite. And aconite is a wonderful remedy because it is great for shock or something that happens unexpected. And this could be that happens to you or something that you actually see or are a part of. For example, if your child was riding their bike and they got into a bike accident, you would probably be really upset if they were really hurt, right? And the child would be kind of in shock and hurt as well. So in that situation, right away, you could give yourself aconite to kind of calm yourself down from that shock, and you would give it to your child because they're going through something that is jarring to their system. And then you could decide what are the kind of homeopathic remedies you want to give. For example, with Arnica might be a good one because maybe they've gotten bruises or a head injury or whatever it might be. So those are two that are kind of a mainstay in almost every homeopathic kit, and even the most basic ones. So I recommend carrying a lot of these with you, but you can decide what you want. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is digestive issues and overindulgences. So I know that that never happens to anybody, right? Anyone here? But I'll say in our family, we have issues, tummy issues, especially with one particular family member. And we do have times when we just push our bodies too hard. We eat food that we shouldn't be eating. A lot of times sugar, even overdoing caffeine. This one's even good for overusing alcohol, and that's next vomica. So it can even be good for helping with a hangover the next day. But even for somebody who's overworked, just overstressed, and usually it's a type A personality, this is a good one for me. If I'm pushing myself and I know that I push my body too hard and I feel like I'm getting sick, and usually there's some tummy distress to that. Also, it can help with constipation. Another one that I wanted to talk about is Oscillococcinum. And where did I put that box? Oh dear. Oh, here it is. This is actually a homeopathic remedy that's made by Boron, and it is the #1 selling remedy in France for flu and cold issues. So this one works really, really well. And I actually have all of my family members, in addition to their kit of 10 remedies that I have them carry, I usually have them carry 2 or 3 of these because you can stick them in there. And so if they're starting to feel something, like if my husband's starting to feel something at work, I just tell him, go ahead, pop this open. And this is a lot of homeopathic remedies in this one bottle, but it does say the dosage is a whole bottle. And I know I've tried before in the past, because these are a little pricier than just the pellets by themselves. I've tried to like make it last and, you know, use 2 or 3, use one bottle for 2 or 3 doses. But what I found is when I skimped on it, I actually did get sick. So from now on, I just use the whole bottle. This is what it says, and it usually works pretty well. Like I said, even in France, it's pretty effective. Another remedy that I wanted to talk about, or 2 remedies actually, is Apis and Ledum. They are great remedies for if there's any kind of puncture wound, if you get stung by a bee or a hornet, step on a nail, get bit by a dog or a cat or whatever other animal, squirrel that can bite. And so this one is great. These 2 are great for preventing infection. Ledum is going to be a great one for that you're going to want to take right away with a bite. So for example, I had a lab who has now passed away, but anytime that we would get ready to go, she wanted to go with us, and most of the time I let her go in the car. Well, we were getting ready actually to go to a camp out for my girls troop, and they didn't want us to bring dogs. Well, she saw us loading up the car, and she got right in the driver's, down in the wheel well area, and refused to get out, and she was snapping at me and actually bit me and actually caught, and my hand was bleeding, and I was just about to go camping for 3 nights. And so I ran over, of course I cleaned it up as best I could, and then I took Ledum right away because I knew Ledum would help with the infection and it helps it heal. So I kept taking that and trying to keep it clean, which was practically impossible on a camping trip when you're camping in a tent, right? But I was able to heal it. Apis is a good one too, for especially if you are concerned about anything allergy related, if it be for anaphylactic or something swelling. So when we actually had kids that were over, we were supporting a missionary family that we were doing a dinner for, and the kids were playing soccer, and I guess they hit the soccer ball into a hornet's nest, and this was in November, which they should have been hibernating. I think they were, and they came out angry and mad, and they started stinging all the kids, my dog, some adults. And so next thing I knew, we were trying to serve food, and I had all these kids coming in screaming and crying and in pain. And so I started giving them Ledum and Apis, the ones that were in pain, and especially when they would get stung, like right on their bone. I also made a little bit of a poultice of activated charcoal to kind of pull that out for the kids that needed it, and put a band-aid on there. So I always also recommend carrying activated charcoal, because you'll never know when you're going to need it. You can take that internally too, and that is not homeopathic, but you can take that internally too with a stomach issue. Okay, so another one is for sprains and strains. That happens to us quite a bit with sports and dance and theater, all the fun stuff my kids are involved in. So Ruta is a great one for any kind of sprains and strains. Rhus tox is also great, especially for hurting your back or hurting your neck. I've had I have a rod in my back from scoliosis, so I have back problems anyway, but then I had a pretty bad horse accident, so I actually was in a neck brace for over 3 months. And so when my neck goes out or my back goes out, Rhus tox, and I do use that in a higher potency. For me, I have to use a 1M for it to work, but I would look at using that in like a 200 or a 30 if needed. Another great one is Belladonna for really high fevers. So probably fevers 104 or over, and it also for something bright and red. It might be something for certain kind of throat infections, or for example like an eye infection, or certain kind of headaches where it's really just red hot and angry. Belladonna is a beautiful medicine for young kids, especially like when the infants wake up and you've got one red cheek, or they have an ear infection. That one can help also, as well as pulsatilla. I also wanted to talk about, what was the other one? Some remedies for stress and anxiety. So one of my favorites is Ignatia, and Ignatia 200 up to at least 2 times a day if needed, when you're feeling grieving, overwhelmed, just stressed, like I tell myself all the time, okay, breathe, because I just forget to breathe sometimes, right? So Ignatia is a good one for a sign and like trying to breathe and get through it. And especially when you've lost loved ones, that one's been really helpful. Or just a lot of changes, like moving can be really stressful, and you might just need Ignatia for that. Gelsemium is a great remedy that is for, it's usually when they say when you're droopy, draggy, your eyes are somewhat closed, you're starting to feel sick, just don't have that same energy. This is also a good one for some people that with post-COVID issues, and they just do not feel like they can get their energy back. Gelsemium is also a good one for anticipatory anxiety, meaning if something is coming up, like your kids are going to be in a theater show, or they're going to do an audition or something like that, or they've been studying a lot and they have a test the next day, or you got a public speaking event, this is a great one to help just calm that anxiety down a little bit. Argentum is a good one for people that have fear of heights, of flying, have certain just fears that may or may not make sense. Aconite is another good one for fears as well. So, Nat Mirror can also be a good one for deep grieving, like the loss of a child that just lasts over a period of time, and you just really have a hard time getting past that grief. Let me give you some sleep support ones because I know we all have issues with sleep sometimes. We talked about coffee cruda can be a good one. Chamomilla, we all know chamomilla tea is great to drink before you go to bed at night, but in the homeopathic form it can help as well. Just for calming, it can be great for babies that are just clingy and they're not sleeping well. Passiflora is also a good one, and you can get that one just in a mother tincture. And then I love actually Sleep Calm, which is a boron combination remedy that works really well for sleeping at night if needed. Another one I wanted to talk about, another option is for balancing mood swings, and especially if it relates to hormones. Sepia 200 is wonderful, especially for men that are, not men, women who are dealing with ups and downs in their cycle. This one can help like calm stuff down, and also with having emotions in their cycle. Pulsatilla is one that's great for teen girls, especially as they're first starting their cycle and it may not be as regular, or they may be having issues with too much or too little blood loss. So this is a good one for that. Also for blood loss, I do recommend Arnica 3 and Sabina 6. Those are huge for those kind of issues. And then phosphorus if it's actually a bloody nose. So I hope some of these have given you some ideas. We're going to go through some more later. And so what I want you to do for your homework is I want you to write down 10 remedies that would be on your go-to list of what you want, what you think you should buy first. So as your budget allows, I don't want to push anybody financially, but as your budget allows, I would start looking at, okay, I think Arnica would cover a lot of things like when my kids get hurt and just make a list. Oh, I think I might need Ignatia. Oh, and I did forget one for the mental side, and that's Kali phosphoricum. That one is great for also being overwhelmed, and also when you're overstudying, like when your kids are studying for a big test, or you are not sleeping well because you're studying or working towards something. That's a great one just to kind of bring some calm. So write down your top 10, and then you can start getting your own kit together that you can carry with you and keep with you for any kind of emergencies, because I always say that be prepared, not scared. So I want you to be prepared with the right remedies. And with that, I wanted to also show you, this is the homeopathic kit that is that's with the Banerjee protocols. This one's about $175 on Amazon. And what I love about this one is it is great because it relates to a lot of the protocols that they give. And you can see these are good size. There's a lot of pellets in here. This is going to last you for a while. And some of the protocols that they have are harder to find. Like they might use some 3s and 6s that are harder to find in the US. And so they tried to put most of these. They even have some combination ones for like some infection type of issues in here as well. Okay, thank you.